You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 85% water, right?
85% water?
Yep. The leading bargain detergent is mostly water.
I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
Well, if you're looking for a better clean, Tide Pods are 88% concentrated ingredients.
Ooh, pass me the intercom thingy.
Attention shoppers. If you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Don't pay for water. Pay for clean. If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Pods.
Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
She's moving to Georgia.
Jada's Podiatry Clinic's top nurse quit, leaving her business toes up.
We've got 6 procedures and 3 major surgeries in the next 2 days.
She needs a new RN who can think on their feet.
There's no way I can do all these procedures on my own.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Everybody, happy Thursday afternoon live tutorial stream. How's everybody doing this Thursday lunchtime? Hope everyone is having a good Thursday wherever you are out there. Hi Sophia in the wilds of the internet. We got a really quick, simple, and easy one for you this afternoon. So if you're feeling a little low on energy this Thursday, this is a really good one to just kind of knock out a project, have a little fun, and then get back to your work week. That's the less fun part of it, of course. So this is our right angle weave ring. We have done this before. So this is a double needle right angle weave. You could do this one in single needle right angle weave as well, but what I find is the single needle right angle weave sometimes has to pass more times through a bead than the double needle version does. The double needle is usually better for most beads because you are not taking up so much of the bead hole with elastic that you can't fit that last pass or whatever you need to in. So as far as tools and supplies, what are you going to need? You are going to need some beads, and I have this a pretty strand of shell beads today that I am going to be using for my ring. You need to make sure that your beads have at least a 1.5 millimeter hole, all right? Otherwise your elastic's not gonna fit. How many beads you need is gonna be completely variable depending upon the size of the beads. For my finger in my sample ring, my 6 millimeter beads, I used 10. But that, again, that's going to be variable dependent upon the size of your finger and the size of your beads. Because as you can see with my ring here, larger beads sit up off of your finger further, and so you're actually going to need to make your ring longer if you're using larger beads. I also would not really recommend going over a 6 millimeter bead for this project because you can see how it doesn't let my fingers come together, which is fine for me in this size, but you know, the bigger it gets, the more awkward that kind of forced gap gets. So I believe on my online supply list I said something like 10 to 15 millimeter. of your beads that are going to be the focal of your ring. And then you're going to need some 3mm round metal beads for the sides of your ring. That's these little guys right here. And you basically need twice as many as you have of your main beads plus 2. So I've got just a whole little bowl of those. And then you're going to need some 0.7mm Stretch Magic elastic. Stretch Magic elastic is my favorite elastic to use for any project. In all of my years of beading, designing jewelry, repairing jewelry, this brand, so you know, there's no forever solution with stretchy. Like, there's no stretchy on the planet that's not going to either explode or disintegrate or just lose its stretch at some point. Okay, that's just the nature of the material. This brand, Stretch Magic, is my favorite. This is the one that over my years of doing this I found tends to have the most durability as far as tools. Oh, and you're going to also need some hypo cement glue, which is technically a supply, not a tool. As far as tools go, all you're really going to need are your own 2 hands and a nice sharp scissors. So I'm going to take my elastic and I'm going to cut myself a decently long piece. I probably only need about a foot, but as you all know, I'm paranoid about not having enough material, so I cut myself about 18 inches of Stretch Magic. I'm going to go ahead and grab this little tray so that beads don't go rolling everywhere, and I'm going to cut this strand so that I can access my beads. Also, I want to thank everyone who tuned in last night to support Heather on her first ever solo sale. She had Diane as note taker, but it was her first sale where she was in front of this camera for the entire sale, running the whole thing. She did an amazing job. So thank you all so much for hanging out with her. Also, speaking of sales, next week is Memorial Day week, and that means it's going to be a week of sales for us. So we are going to start in-store. We're going to be closed on Memorial Day Monday. We're going to start in-store sales, 50% off all strands, loose beads, and finished jewelry on Tuesday. And then online sales starts Wednesday, so there'll be a sale Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. There will be no tutorials next week because we're working on clearing things out so I can go shopping and buy more new stuff. So it's going to be a very exciting week next week, Memorial Day sales. And now we're ready to do this project. So I've got my 18-inch piece of elastic, and I'm just going to fold it in half so that my 2 ends line up. And I'm going to grab one of my shell beads. I'm going to thread that onto one end of my elastic, and then I'm going to break it down right to the middle of my elastic. Now I'm going to thread onto each of my 2 ends of elastic one of my 3mm beads. So, okay, and then here is where, well, or I could fling that bead. You know, that's also a thing that happens when you're doing this. Okay, so I've got these 2 beads on. Now I'm going to grab another shell bead, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on one strand of my elastic, and then I'm going to, really? Did that really just happen? Sorry, my round bead fell off. Not nice. Okay, so once again, I'm going to take this other end and I'm going to cross it through my shell bead. So what I want, and sometimes you gotta kind of stretch your other piece of elastic out to give yourself some room. I'm fairly certain there's room for that to go through there. Maybe. Bear with. Because it straight up really looks like there's room. Haha. So here's a trick. If you're trying to get 2 pieces of elastic through a tight space, bear in mind that elastic thins out when it's stretched. Okay, so see how much thinner that right there is than this unstretched piece of elastic? So if you've got a piece of elastic going through a bead, whether it's a crimp bead, a bead like this, whatever, and you need to make room for another one, stretch that first piece out and it will create some space inside. So now what I have is I've got 2 pieces of elastic crossing through my bead. So I've got one going from right to left, one going from left to right. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to pull on these 2 pieces of elastic. Until I get that. Now we repeat. So 2 more gold beads and then cross through a shell bead. So I've got 2 more gold beads. We're going to try not to fling these away from us. I mean, you never really know. Okay, so 2 more gold beads and then cross through a shell bead, which means that I need to put the shell bead onto one elastic like so, and then I need to cross the other elastic through it the opposite way. So if this one's going through in this direction, what I can do is I can just stretch that out over my finger, put the other end through the other way like so, and then once again just pull. And there we go. That's 3 beads of our ring. So you can make this ring using any beads that you want to, as long as your elastic's going to fit in them. Okay, so that's the main thing, is you need to make sure that you've got smaller beads like these 3mm that still have holes that will accommodate your 0.7mm elastic, and then you got to make sure your bigger beads have holes that will accommodate the 0.7mm elastic twice. And is there thinner elastic out there? I can hear some of you asking that question, even though nobody typed it. And the answer there is yes, there is, but the problem is it's just not very sturdy. It really isn't. And so unless you are someone who is extremely gentle on your jewelry, I just don't ever feel comfortable recommending the 0.5mm, which is the thinner size elastic, to anyone. It's just, in my experience, almost never a good idea. Now, if you've used 0.5mm elastic successfully in your own jewelry and it hasn't broken on you, good for you. That's awesome, and keep doing it. But maybe it's just that I'm a bit of a bull in a china shop, but I like the 0.7 or the 1mm if possible, but there are very few things that the 1mm will fit through doubled, because that means that you have to have a 2mm hole. So I'm having to cherry pick a little bit. That first bead that I picked didn't have a big enough hole even with me stretching the elastic, so we're going to try this one. I think this one's going to be better. Okay, so I've got the elastic through my bead one way, and I'm going to stretch it, and I'm just going to take it through the bead the other way, like so, and then pull. And there you go. So we're essentially creating kind of a ladder of, hi Lori, ladder of beads. So I'm just going to keep doing this until I've got enough to make a ring. Now, how much is enough to make a ring, you might be asking. So if you're making it for yourself, it's super easy. Just try it on your finger. When it's comfortable, you know you're done. If you are making it for someone else, slightly less easy, but there are still tools to help you with this. You can use a ring mandrel and use that to determine when you've reached your target size. My target size for today is a 7. So I'm going to be checking it on my ring mandrel in a little bit to make sure that I don't overshoot that size. The thing that I find with weaving projects like this is sometimes you tend to just get sort of caught up in the motion and the pattern of it, and then all of a sudden you've woven way too much. Yeah, this is absolutely something you could do as a bracelet as well though. So if you do get to that point where you're just like, oh shoot, I wasn't paying attention and now I've woven, you know, 4 inches, then you might as well just go another 3 and make a 7-inch bracelet. Technique's exactly the same. Lori, what'd y'all have for lunch? Sure, whatever it was delicious. Or is lunch after the stream? Because you're a couple hours ahead. So this, I love this shell. It maybe wasn't the best choice for this bracelet because the holes are just a little bit smaller on the insides than they are on the outside. So I'm really having to kind of cherry pick the ones here. Haven't had lunch yet. It's 11:30 there. Got it. I'm really having to cherry pick the ones that are big enough, which I'm still okay with because I like these beads and I think they're going to make a really fun ring, but just make sure that you pick beads that are appropriate for your level. See, that one went through no problem. For your level of patience, okay? So especially if you're going to make a bracelet instead of a ring, having to struggle with every single bead may wind up with your project getting lofted across your workspace with extreme prejudice. So, you know, just bear in mind that you don't have to make it hard on yourself. You can just pick different beads. Yay, hardware store runs. The hardware store is one of those places I actually try and stay away from because I always wind up with 17 more things than I needed. Like, I'm going for a washer for my hose. You know, it's a $2 part. Somehow I come home with 7 plants and, you know, 5 feet of copper pipe and elbow joints and some crazy wackadoodle plan to build, like, you know, a planter or a bird bath or something. See, I feel like lists, when you have somebody to help you stick to them, are better. When I'm on my own, I'm like, list, schmist, who cares? I just need to make sure I come home with everything on the list. Everything additional is just, it just jumped into the cart. Oh, and I tried all my vegetables from seed this year, and that was non-successful. So I think next year I'm going to have to decide, do I really want to grow vegetables? Or do I just want to plant more flowers? Because I never managed to catch the optimal time for planting tomatoes and peppers. Just because my work schedule always seems, invariably, it seems to get crazy when it's time to be putting those things in the ground. And, okay, I'm struggling a bit with these beads. But yeah, I'm thinking next year it may just be herbs and flowers. Which, I mean, your first couple years in a new garden are always learning years, so I'm fine with that. Yeah, these, ooh, definitely not the best choice in beads. Oh well, live and learn. At least I'm about 1/3 of the way through my ring, so theoretically I don't have to go through too many more beads to make this happen. Okay, this one looks like it has a decent hole. So I've got my gold beads on there again, and I'm going to go through my hole one way with my elastic. And then And then I'm gonna go through the other way, and the hole in this one is big enough that shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, there we go. So I'm really just with this particular bead that I've chosen having to pick out the ones that I can see plainly have bigger holes. So as a stash buster project, that means that this one is crap. Because you can't just take any old random assortment of beads that you have lying around and make them into this ring, because your hole sizes are really, really specific. The good news is it doesn't take that many beads. So if you have beads from a strand that you already know has larger holes, you know, all you need is 10 or 15 of them to make this work. So it's a good use for the end of a strand that already has larger holes. But as far as just like, I'm gonna take 15 beads out of my bead box and make this ring, that may not be a viable plan. But meanwhile, my little ringy caterpillar is forming very nicely. So again, after I cross through my main bead, I'm going to put one of my round beads on either elastic. These are 3mm round beads, like so, and then I'm going to find one of my larger beads that I can tell by looking at it has a larger hole. And then I'm going to thread that bead onto my elastic, stretch that elastic over my finger, and then cross my other piece of elastic through the other direction. And then pull. And continue. So I'm just going to keep continuing this for a little bit until I get enough to make my size 7. I'm going to try that on my ring mandrel in a little bit, and then I will let you all know if I'm there or if I need to do some more. I'll show you guys how that's looking. So as far as tonight on the Beading Dream stream, it is Torch Thursday. That means we do have a soldering project for you this evening. It's actually a combination soldering and wire wrapping project. This is kind of a mixed media technique that really speaks to me because I love wire wrapping and I love soldering. So it's a combination soldered and wire wrapped pendant, which I'm calling the embellished bezel pendant. That's going to be tonight at 6 p.m. Tomorrow, Friday at 6 p.m. is going to be our Zoom crafty cocktail time. That means you will not find us on Facebook, you will not find us on Twitch, you'll find us on Zoom with crafty cocktail time. That's free crafting time where you can work on whatever you want to, and there's lots of chatting, having fun. Also, Heather and I are here for help if anybody needs it tomorrow on Zoom. And then Saturday we've got another fun project for you. We've got a cool macrame bracelet for you that I call the honeycomb bracelet. So it's kind of a variation on the back and forth bracelet, if you're familiar with that project of ours, but it's more complicated. Instead of 2 rows of beads, it's 3 rows of beads, and that one's going to be quite a good time as well. So that's what we've got going on for the rest of this week on the Beading Dream stream. And then of course next week starts our week of Memorial Day sales. So that means that next week we're gonna have a sale every night. No tutorials, only sales. No teach, only sell. Tomorrow, or not tomorrow, next week. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday next week are all going to be sales. Which means then we have to do Corvus's Burb on a different freeform stream, I just realized, but that's okay. So I'm continuing to just add the beads in the same order that I have been. So again, two gold, cross through a shell, 2 gold, cross through a shell. We're just going to continue that again until I get to the point where this will actually go around the size 7 spot on a ring mandrel. this is where I'm at now. It's still not quite there right now. I have, you know, barely a pinky ring, but it's gonna work up pretty quickly. So I should be done and able to get you all back to your workday by 1 o'clock, no problem. Or your grocery shopping or whatever you have planned for the rest of this lovely Thursday. I have no idea what we have planned at Beading Dreams today. I think we're going to see 2 of our favorite customers this evening for a little work session. I may be teaching classes. I may just be catching up on projects. Who knows? Hopefully I'll have enough beads to actually finish this project. There we go. That's a big one. So, interesting factoid about the holes in beads, which most of you who have beaded for a while probably already know, which is that the sizes of the holes in the beads are not necessarily consistent even on a strand of the same bead. So I'm finding significant variations in the size of the holes of these beads, even though they all came off the same strand. And so that's something that you need to kind of be aware of. And if you think you might have a hole size issue, don't test just 1 bead or 2 beads. Seriously, test like 10 beads off of your strand to see if they all fit on your cord, because there's a really good chance, you know, if you just test 1 or 2, that those may be the exceptions, not the rule. And then all of a sudden you're going to find yourself, you know, engaged in your project, except you're not going to have supplies that will actually function for that project. So you really need to make sure to just try your beads out beforehand. I'm lucky, even though I didn't try my beads out beforehand, I've got a whole strand of them, and I only need 15. So I'm going to be putting a lot of beads aside for another project, but at least I'm probably going to be able to finish my ring. Probably being the operative term here. And in the next 12 minutes, we hope. Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Cool. Alright, I'm going to show you where I are. That's great. That's wonderful syntax, Allison. That's just fantastic. I promise I did go to school of some flavor. Okay, so this is where I am, and I just want to make sure everything is kind of nice and even. And let's grab my ring mandrel and see where I am size-wise. Now, when you're sizing this on your ring mandrel, you want to be very careful not to stretch it, okay, because the stretch is for kind of going over your finger, not necessarily for being on your finger. So that's my size 7. So I'm actually done. I'm there. So now let's learn how to connect this ring. So I'm going to do 2 more of my gold beads. So I've got 1 bead on 1 elastic and 1 bead on the other elastic. Okay, like so. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this around, and I'm going to pick one of these 2 elastics to go through this first bead on my ring. So if I pick this elastic, it needs to go that way. If I pick this elastic, it needs to go that way. Doesn't really matter which one I pick. Since I'm right-handed, I'm going to pick the one that's going to go from right to left. So we want to, and if you need to stretch this one, the way that you do it is you just pull it up and kind of pinch underneath it. And this is where you really hope that the first bead you picked is actually big enough for this elastic. This is going to be a bit of a struggle because I did not make sure of that. But I am a very stubborn person, Anybody who knows me will attest to that. So I'm gonna see if we can make this work. Might take a minute though. Also, I'm gonna have to take off my glasses. So let's see, what else is new with everyone out there? Corvus graduated, I know that. Sophia's car hasn't been attacked by ice recently, which is good. Lori is about to go get groceries and make something for dinner, which I'm sure will make me jealous. See, here in Dallas, the weather was really nice for a couple of days. It's kind of ooching back up there towards those lovely summer temperatures, though, of, you know, 90 plus degrees. Oh, well, at least that was only my finger and not my project. Do you love how I was just squinting at the screen because I don't have my glasses on? Oh, and Facebook ads got me this morning, y'all. I ordered another pair of glasses. Don't need another pair of glasses. I really do not. Like, I have a pair of glasses that works just fine and 6 pairs of contacts. They're disposables. And yet, they got me with these really cool vintagey looking glasses. So, when they get here, I will show them to you. Okay, tools would be helpful. Trying to do this with my fingers is not good. So, just in case anyone was wondering, yes, the struggle is actually real. Oh, yay! Both Laura's kids got new jobs. That's awesome. New jobs always have so much potential for goodness and positive energy. Like, I'm definitely a fan. New jobs and new apartments, also new houses. It's a pain getting there, but 2 of my favorite things. But yeah, so new glasses I did order. I shouldn't have because Mamie still has a vet bill that I need to pay, but I could not resist. Okay, so I think it's time to stop bashing my head against the wall and let's try and do this a different way. This is a trick that I've shown a number of my in-person clients, and it's really helpful when you have difficult elastic. So this is once again, hi Nathan. This is once again making use of the fact that the elastic is stretchy, or is thinner when it's stretched. So where are we at right now? Because I've been messing with this for long enough that everyone has probably forgotten. So what I've done, okay, so what I've been struggling with for the past couple minutes is the very ending of my ring. So the problem here that I have run into is, since the holes in these beads were inconsistent and I didn't realize it when I started my bracelet, what I need to do to finish this ring is, first of all, I need to tighten everything up. Okay, so what I need to do in order to finish this ring is I need to flip this around, and then I need to take one of these 2 pieces of elastic. Doesn't really matter which one, I need to cross it through this bead. The problem is I wasn't really paying attention when I put this first bead on, and the hole's too small for me to just shove the elastic through. So here is a little trick. It's a really useful one, actually. I'm just gonna try a bead stopper for this. Super useful. So I'm gonna take my elastic, and I just grabbed a piece of like 28 gauge wire. This is just junk wire that was laying around my workstation. I'm going to bend it in half, and I'm going to thread my elastic onto it almost like I were threading a needle. So now I've got a doubled piece of elastic. And so now I can hear some of you thinking, well, if a single piece of elastic won't go through, a double piece of elastic definitely won't. But here's the thing. is the needle generally, or the makeshift needle, allows me to kind of utilize the strength of the wire to poke through that bead. So I'm kind of wishing I had a chain nose pliers though. There we go. So I can poke that makeshift needle through that bead because it's way sturdier than my elastic, and then I can just grab that and pull it through. And what is going to happen, ideally, I do want to make sure it's straight. So ideally what's going to happen when I pull it through is it's just going to stretch that elastic to the point where it'll come through on its own. I have no idea what happened to that hemostat, but goodness, that thing just did not want to open. I know, right? This is so painful to watch, I'm sure. Oh, that's still not gonna work. You POS. Hold on, let me grab a chain nose. Okay, so everyone raise your hand on stream if this has happened to you at the end of a project where you're like, I'm so close. I just need you to work. I need you to work and everything will be happy and the angels will sing and I'll be able to get off stream and open the store because I have to do that in 3 minutes. And yeah, who's been in that situation before? I bet more of you than I would have thought. I know, right? Put it aside and try again. Ha! But I did it! I officially out-stubborned the project. So, alright, so I did manage to get it. So my problem was my needle got a little crinkled up over there. So I managed to finally pull it through, and so see my 2 cords are coming through with pretty much no problem, again, because of the fact that they stretch. And so then the last thing I need to do to join my ring together is I have my last little round bead right there, and I'm going to take these 2 elastics and I'm going to tie them together. And I'm going to tie them together in just a square knot because I don't want a pretty giant knot on this. So that's going to be right crosses over left and then pass through the middle. Pull tight, and then left passes over right. Pull through the middle. Pull tight. Alright, and even that out, and there we go. That's the finish of our ring. Now I'm going to take my hypo cement. I'm going to put a dot of glue on that knot. That is my ring finish. I'm going to take sharp scissors and trim off those ends of elastic, and I want to trim those off as close as possible so that they're not really obvious. And then I am going to make sure that I give this ring about 10-15 minutes or so before I actually stretch it and put it on my finger, just to make sure that glue has time to dry. So it is now time for me to skedoodle with alacrity because it's 1 p.m. here in Dallas, and Beading Dreams is about to open for business. So thank y'all so much for hanging out with us on the Beading Dreams stream this tutorial Thursday. I am Allison from Beading Dreams in Dallas, Texas. We are an actual brick and mortar retail bead store. We're here on Lovers Lane, and we are here to feed your need to bead 6 times a week. We're here Monday through Saturday, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. We're, if you're not local in Dallas, you can find us on this channel, twitch.tv/Beading Dream, 5 times a week with complimentary tutorials, plus twice with live merchandise sales. That means we'll be back on this channel, twitch.tv/Beading Dream this evening with, oh, that's not the right project, with our Torch Thursday project. You're just gonna have to trust me that it's cool, And everyone have a great Thursday afternoon, and we'll see you later.
Hey teacher, can I have the hall pass? Cause you know the librarian, well, she has a really fat ass, and I'm trying to go see that. I mean, I gotta go pee. That's what I'm gonna say. Hey teacher, can I have a hall pass so I can see the librarian with the fat ass? Even though I'm only 12, I got a boner, and I'm too focused on harass to do my homework. Ooh yeah, yeah, she come over my way. She says she gon' tutor me on Friday. I'm about to learn typing on computers by a 40-year-old tutor that's a cougar. Bibbidi hobbity, your books are property. I got so much cash you would think it's a monopoly. I'm fucking these Milton and nobody's stopping me. This just like magic. Bibbidi bobbity. A series of fortunes. My name is Klaus. Spark to the tree, no magic tree house. She been over, you can see it on her blouse. Yeah, this is very wrong. She has kids and a spouse. When she came over, I turned on reading Rainbow. She quickly went from librarian to a hoe. Whoa, I busted in 1 minute's time. I think that she's gonna get some jail time. I said, hey teacher, can I have a hall pass so I can see the librarian with the fat ass? Even though I'm only 12, I got a boner, and I'm too focused on harass to do my homework. An F. Ooh, yeah, she come on over my way, and she said she's gonna tutor me on Friday. I'm about to learn typing on computers by a 40-year-old tutor that's a cougar.
Okay, my teacher give me a boner. I show her, I bend her over and boner. Make her go to the teacher's lounge and get me a soda. I told her I keep the nudes in my class folder. She showed me her boobs. Older girls never let me tap. What I told her is I'll tap that fat ass if she lets me pass that class. Put it in a butt, pass that gas. Bang kid, come blow me like brass. She look at me like Cudge. I just really wanna fuck, but I'll give you an F if you don't make me nut. So, long story short, I didn't make a nut, so now I gotta retake English.